at Drupal about 3 years ago, or no, it's actually been 5 years now. Yeah, I have quite a long history with Drupal Austria as well, and I'm one of the people who kind of year for year have to do a lot of stuff there. Okay, let's get into it. Okay, it's not working in parallel, so yeah. We decided to do a case study of our work, and we're going to give you insights into the backend perspective. There we go. Okay. Good. Drupal.com recently got relaunched. It's Drupal 10, and we worked hard on making it a good website, marketing website that's decoupled. It has actually a backend that serves 2 front ends at the moment. So we built it off of Lupus Decoupled, which will be a talk also on Thursday by Wolfgang Ziegler. And it's using our decoupled content pool in the background. So one website, one Drupal site is serving actually a Nuxt front end that we have set up for Drupal, for Drupal.com. We're relying heavily on the layout builder. And so one of our requirements was that it had to be multilingual, German and English. It also had to interact well with the layout builder itself, as well as to do actually a bunch of other things, but we're going to be focusing on the multilingual today. Let's move on.
Yeah, and here I take over. So there are 2 links where you can find more info about the Lupus Decoupled. And it's a complete, fully integrated solution for a headless Drupal out of the box, combining the power of Drupal with a modern front end. And yeah, uses custom elements and Lupus custom elements renderer module. Both of them are also available on Drupal.org. But one thing that I'd like to point out is the C-API endpoint, where the content is available with custom elements. And this will be important later on. And another thing on our stack is the decoupled content pool, which actually provides different subsites. We call them portals. And there's a quick image of how it works. So there's one content pool, but multiple front ends. Each one is getting its own content from the front end with Nuxt. And this one provides a portal path endpoint. So yeah, we're getting to another piece of the puzzle with the path name resolution. And then there is Lupus Digital Translations. They're just like a small glue module that provides a lot of configuration and simple service that provides URL prefixes from the language negotiation method at a bit earlier step of the Drupal bootstrap process, then the configuration is available. And yeah, we'll talk about it later.
So just to give a high-level overview of what's happening, this is one of the layout builder pages that we have. It's one of our team page or career page. And then each element here, we've got the sections going down. So one section is the darker section above, the second section here, we've got other sections below. And then each section has blocks. This would be the image gallery block. We've got text block, we've got other things. And each of those blocks actually has to be respecting the language switcher as well at the top. So if we're loading one page, we're going to be loading it in German, and obviously if we switch to English, we'll be loading it in English. In the backend, this is what it generally looks like. You've got the different sections across the board, you've got the different columns as well, and you've even got the ability, of course, for doing the editing, so creating, updating, deleting, things like that. Yeah, so our question for all of this is how can we actually manage the translations of content using the layout builder? How can that be managed? It's not a simple task actually, and it wasn't as refined as we had hoped about a year ago, so we invested a lot of time getting that done. To answer that question, a couple of things to consider is the translations of the nodes. Are you doing one node, multiple translations, or is that happening some other way? Go ahead. On the layout builder, as I pointed out, you've got the sections and the blocks. You have to be able to support things like creating, updating, and deleting in both the base language and the translations. All referenced content can also become a problem because if you delete referenced content, where does it get updated? Does it get updated across all of the languages, the language translations? So those types of issues we had to resolve as well. So there's actually two ways, I'll hand this over to you in a second, but there's two ways to actually go about answering this question. You have asymmetrical and symmetrical translations.
Yeah, so we're starting with the asymmetric approach. It's provided by the Drupal asymmetric translations module. And what's important by that approach is that content is not translatable. It's not translatable like in quotes. Created for specific translation, and node can have different layout for different languages. And yeah, content is independent of the language it's in. So yeah, a bit concrete example. Text block can appear in one language and is not present in another. And then we have a symmetric approach, and that's what we picked when we were choosing our solution, and we relied heavily on the layout builder symmetrical translations module for translating our layout builder, the pages that are built with the layout builder. Yeah, we fixed some bugs on it.
Not only that, we contributed to it.
Okay. Yeah. So in symmetrical approach, content is translatable. Create, read, update, delete operations work in all languages. Node cannot have different layout sections and blocks, and translate the block labels and inline blocks that are, blocks are translatable in the layout builder. So yeah, we already saw a concrete example when Jeremy was showing the backend part, the edit part of the layout builder, and yeah, so every block that's there also has a translation in other languages. So yeah, please do.
With the symmetrical approach, you're going to have basically the article, and then you'll make the translation of the article, or you're going to have the channel or topic page, which is using the layout builder. You'll actually go and translate the node, and then automatically the original language layout is going to be somehow copied over to the next language that you're creating, and all of the blocks will instantly be there. Those blocks will, of course, need to be translated then and edited. So what you're doing is you're doing the creation process only in the base language. The delete process as well, only in the base language. Blocks are created and deleted in the base language. Translations, however, they will only be able to update when you're doing this. So there will be no create and no delete. We actually disable those two buttons and give and print out the information that you have to actually go to the original language if you want to do the create or the delete. Referenced items are exactly the same way. If you want to reference a media image or something, it's going to appear in that block. You can reference the item in the base language, but you cannot reference the item in the translation itself. Are there any questions so far, actually? Yeah. Would it not be possible? Oh, wait. Sorry.
Thank you. Hi. Would it not be possible to have symmetric translations, but have different sections in the actual page? And an idea I have right now, as an example, would be to have display modes that are different for different languages for the same content types. Would that not be an idea?
I can answer the first question. In symmetrical translations, no. You're not supporting different blocks or different elements in a different language. You're keeping them symmetric. That's simply the approach. If you want to do the other, you have to go asymmetric. And there's actually a note in the module that says that the one is not compatible with the other. You might be able to do it with the modes. We didn't actually look into that.
Yeah, I mean, you can probably find a solution for it, like, I don't know, hiding depending on some condition, yeah.
Any other questions before I move on? Yeah.
Yeah, it's actually not a question, but an answer for the previous question. You could use visibility conditions on blocks to achieve this. There's also a core patch somewhere which integrates visibility conditions into Layout Builder, so probably this would be a solution for that.
Thank you, you're getting a workout today. Yeah, have fun.
Yeah, so how we brought it together by basically creating this, I say it's a small module, but there's a lot of thing in it. Most important thing are the dependencies, so config translation, content translation, language, locale, Drupal core modules, and the layout builder symmetrical translations. And what we actually have is a lot of configuration in the /config/install folder translations for all of the content types, other types of content, and some language configurations. Yeah, we can go to next slide. Yeah, we're also hiding untranslatable fields, which was causing some troubles to us. And yeah, we have this language URL prefixes helper service that I mentioned earlier. Just provides URL prefixes from the configuration, from the method negotiation config at a bit earlier part of Drupal bootstrap process. Let's go to the next one. And yeah, since there's a lot of things in our stack, at the end, our backend path that frontend is requesting content from actually look like this. So it's the API endpoint, it's also configurable. Then there's a portal, ID, language, and the node path. And in the end, this translates to the content that's on a specific portal in a specific language.
I'd actually like to add that we had also developed it so that if you're requesting the German translation of a node and it's only available in English, the front end will actually display a message to say, oh, it's only available in this one language, and will redirect you back. So it was one of our small changes that we had introduced so that we could keep things a little bit more consistent. There are other ways to deal with the language switcher on the front end as well. You can display some sort of oops page, you can do whatever you'd like, but that was our solution.
Yeah, and maybe it's also worth to add that these services modules on stack, so decoupled, content pool, and language translations, they also work independently of each other. So if we would take one of them out, the path would lose one of its members. So if we wouldn't have content pool, for example, we would just have API/language/nodepath at the end in the backend. So yeah, there were a few challenges we faced when we were developing our solution. Already mentioned hiding of the untranslated fields. In the end, yeah, the fields that were untranslatable were hidden as well. So that was one thing that we also contributed back to the layout builder symmetrical translations. Then there was like usual problems with the paragraphs translation. Setup was not straightforward. Similar with menus also. I think it was a thing of configuration, but it took a while when we found to find the thing that made everything work. Search also needed a custom path, and then there's our front-end team that also combines the backend and front-end. It's called Lupus Next Kickstart. It's based on Next. It's a base team. And yeah, this one provides a language switcher as well. I didn't really work on it, but some things that I can share that were problematic were that we have to reload the menu when the language is changed. And yeah, basically this plugin, the language switcher that is built, this one actually works by getting the meta tag language properties from the page, and yeah, that's how it decides which endpoint to query.
I do want to say that Alexander is sitting up at the top there. He's also one of our front-end guys. So if you have questions about how Lupus Next Kickstart works, he can probably give you an insight into it. Leo has worked a lot on the back end, so yeah.
Okay.
I believe we're doing really well for time, so I anticipate lots of questions now.
Hi, could you share something about how the translation experience for the people who translate things is?
Honestly, we're going to just open the back end. I hope that with a live demo, this is not going to backfire on me, but let's see about it. I'm not actually going to save anything just in case I'm getting something. Front-end wise, as we've actually showed off a couple of times, if you add login information, you'll get kind of the Drupal tabs up the top as well. But if we actually want to edit this page, we'll go into the back end to edit it. Okay, he likes to do it from the front end instead, which is okay. So in this case, because of the fact that he's already logged into the back end, it's going to grab the tabs that he's allowed to do stuff with, and then he can go and click edit.
But I have to be logged in, of course, to see the... Yeah. I have to be logged in to see the operations.
Yeah. Okay, so obviously with the normal translation, we've got the translate tab. This is the edit screen of the base language, I believe, right? Or is this the English or the base? The English, sorry. Yeah, of course. Okay, so here I can change and translate any of the stuff, obviously, but if, there's actually no teaser image available. You could, I believe at one point we had kind of a placeholder or something, but I'm not sure. Usually there's a teaser image that you can select, but obviously because this is the English translation of the node, we've disabled it. So it's going to use the same image, the translation of the media entity that's appropriate for that node. Thank you. Go to the layout. Okay, so as you can see, if you go down the screen a little bit, stop. I'm not actually able to create sections, delete sections. I can't create blocks and delete blocks because this is the translation. And so if we click on edit, if there's any referenced items in here, those items are not available to me. But in this case, obviously, I can just translate the text. Maybe this is an important point that we didn't say earlier. As soon as you add a block in the base language, it gets reflected then in all other languages. So obviously, you're going to have a short period of time where your translation is technically the original language. I'm going to see my German text in all the other languages. Not exactly ideal, but it's a solution. So obviously that's where we come in. My colleagues and I would have to quickly do all the translations for all of the different versions.
Do it while it's still in the draft state. Yeah, or you can translate the notes when they're still in the draft state.
That's actually in a perfect world because the draft state as well is not working 100% smoothly with the layout builder itself. So we've got a little bit of work to do yet. We definitely had to be patient with the system, obviously. So we had things published, we were editing it, and then we'd be doing the translation immediately following it. Any other questions? Yeah, okay.
Hi. So just one question. You're saying that if you, in the original language, have some teaser image or references to other kind of content, if you translate it, you won't be able to swap, for example, the assets that you're using. For example, you have one database, multiple languages for different markets. Like I usually have the assets for products or something that's on some other language, they can't be swapped.
Good point, and I think Leo will back me up on this. If you have a PDF or something like that, it just won't be available. I mean, you'll have to add all the translations.
Yeah. We rely heavily on the media translations as well. So if we translate, I don't know, PDF document, add it as a translation to previous one.
We have to give you the microphone.
Yeah, okay, the PDF files, but what about images? So as media files also.
And then we'll get to your question. Yeah.
Images are translatable as well, so yeah. It's same with all media.
I guess the image file itself obviously is not going to be translated because that's a referenced entity. So it'll just be the things like the copyright, the description of the image, all of that stuff, the metadata as well. That can be translated. So I'm going to...
Well, this is a bit of a sidestep. As you know, there are several drag and drop editors which don't use Layout Builder, using paragraphs, for example. Have you considered whether they present fewer or more problems for translation?
Yeah, there are problems. So we also have custom blocks that can implement paragraphs. So we can have paragraphs in the layout builder that way, but gives you a bit of a headache.
Did that answer the question?
Well, if you knew more about it, if you knew more about how it works with other layout builders, it would be interesting. But there's no reason you should. You're clearly focused on the core layout builder.
Yeah, we decided to focus this talk on that, but yeah. Any other questions?
Hello. Thanks for your presentation. I had a question. Why did you go for synchronous versus asynchronous? What thoughts you had in mind to go in that direction instead of the other? Thank you.
If we had wanted to go with asynchronous, we would have had full control over each version in the different languages. We could have deleted blocks and created blocks in each language and completely changed the structure. And we saw that that would actually become very difficult to coordinate. I'm surprised actually at how time-consuming translating a website is into one language. And I'm amazed at the companies that get 5 languages on their website, because you lose the entire overview of where things are going. You don't know if an element that's on one page will actually affect then an element on another page, how the information is changed and such. So if you go with an asynchronous approach, I think I'm making my life just extremely difficult. And we decided to go with the synchronous approach so that we could say, okay, if I have the design on one page, I have the design instantly on the other, and I can coordinate it like that. Obviously, there are downfalls to it as well. Do you have anything? Okay. Yes. I'll go.
What about updates to the English or original text? Do you always have to translate it at the same time so that you don't forget what you changed? Or like, is there some sort of table view that you can see, is the correction still, the text still correctly translated?
When we go to the English or the base language, either way, the German text then obviously is not changed. The block has been copied, the text has been adapted in the translation, so the translation text itself then doesn't actually change when we go to change it as long as we don't delete the block or create a new block, nothing is going to happen across the two. So when we go to make one change, one textual change in one block, we then immediately go to the other languages and resolve that. Obviously, if things get out of sync, then they get out of sync. We do not have an overview in the back end either, other than the revision history. So if I really want to have some sort of nice admin overview to say, has this block been changed and has it been changed in the other languages, I don't have that.
Hi. So you mentioned that you have blocks that have paragraphs inside, right? My question is, what if in source language I add whatever paragraph to this list of paragraphs? Is this new paragraph then added to the other language, or can I add it manually in the other language if it's synchronous? And like, how do you deal with that?
I'm not sure right now. I think that like the paragraph is translatable then as a part of the content block.
I think you touched on a point that we had found a bug in that regards, that we had a little bit of asynchronicity with it. So I'm not exactly certain if we've solved that answer yet. Ideally, if I were to create a image gallery on one as a paragraph, then it would be reflected in the other. And that's what we're aiming for, but yeah, I think that was one of my headaches. Yep.
So I understood correctly that layout builder is not rendering the page, but it's the decoupled, this Nux.js that does it. And so we are sending the layout builder metadata to Nux.js, and that's how it's done. Why do you need layout builder then?
As far as the decoupled aspect of it goes, that can be addressed in Wolfgang's talk on Thursday. He's done a lot of work and research into that as well. So the layout builder is giving us the flexibility to build the page, to create the elements, to create the columns, and all of that stuff. Thank you. The editorial experience. And then, yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, and then the parts of the sections and the blocks from the layout builder are provided, decoupled in a decoupled way. So, yeah, via custom elements API. Yeah. But yeah, layout builder was there for ease of use. And the coupled part is for, I don't know, yeah, performance and.
Okay, anyone else? Thank you. I was really impressed with the number of questions. We were quite nervous at the beginning, so thank you so much.